edition of East Coast Biases. Week 6 in the National Football League is upon us. Let's welcome in the triple threat. Raheem Palmer, Joe House, John Jastremski. A lot of games to break down. Play for Thursday night. Fascinating Thursday night game, which we will get to momentarily with the San Francisco 49ers and with the Seattle Seahawks. But there's a lot of extracurriculars, gentlemen, that we need to address before we start diving into these games. And Joe House and Raheem Palmer, I want to take you guys back to the summertime because I told the both of you, despite the talent that was on the New York Jet roster, I had a major problem with the idea of investing my good hard-earned American dollars on a Robert Saleh coach team. Well, 5 games into the season, in stunning fashion, I woke up, I did all my New York stuff, late night Monday after the Yankee game. I woke up on Tuesday morning to about 50 texts celebrating the fact that Robert Saleh is out. House, I have no problem with the move. He's one of the worst coaches in the NFL. Ulbrich cannot be any worse as far as I'm concerned, but this is where the Jets got this wrong. They have all this talent. They have Aaron Rodgers for whatever it is, a year or two. We all knew Robert Saleh couldn't coach. Why did they mess around and bring him back in January when Mike Vrabel or somebody more qualified or more competent could be coaching this team? The Jets may not be able to recover. I don't care if they get a little bump in a week or two. They're not going to be a Super Bowl team. I'm sorry. Just too many questions, too many concerns. But they completely botched this by not having a coaching change in the offseason. No other way around it.
Well, the coaching change I think that the Jets should have had in the offseason, JJ, is the offensive coordinator because he stinks. And he has a mediocre at best quarterback who is directly responsible for the 2 and 3 standings that the Jets have at this point in the season. The firing of Saleh at this point is bizarre, inexplicable. The issue with the Jets is not the defense. The defense is very good, top of the league against the pass. We watched what they did to the Vikings. They didn't lose that game because of the defense. Their quarterback is the direct and proximate cause of the New York Jets losing that football game to the Minnesota Vikings. He missed a wide open Mr. Wilson. He threw the ball 3 picks, including a pick 6. He's not good. The problem is on offense. The Jets are going to be good all season long on defense. The defensive coordinator and mastermind is Robert Saleh. He needed help with game management. He was never good at game management. That should have been the hiring in the offseason. But the Jets stink because they have a bad quarterback and a bad offensive coordinator. Dream, that's my takeaway.
I think you have the right takeaway because I'm really having trouble on what to make of this coaching firing because at the end of the day, it's like it almost feels like it came from Aaron Rodgers. And we know Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh have been going back and forth. So it's like if you're going to keep the offensive coordinator and the problem is offense, how does that change anything? This Jets offense is 27th in points per game, 18 points a game. They're 23rd in the EPA per play. 19th in success rate. So if you're not, completely, revamping the offense, how does that change anything? So I'm a little confused about how to, go about this going forward. I know a lot of people are going to be betting the Jets on a new coach bump going forward, but I'm not sure I can do that.
So I wanted to get to that, Raheem. And obviously on Monday, we'll dissect what we're officially going to do with the Bills coming into MetLife Stadium to take on the Jets. And the amazing thing for the Jets is even after a coaching change has been made, even after all of these terrible offensive numbers that we're talking about, if they go and beat Buffalo on Monday night, they're in first place in the AFC East. So go and try and make sense of all that. Let's put the standings aside. There's not much precedent for a team that's in contention to go and fire their coach 5 games into the year. We've seen the bump before with the interim. We saw it with Jeff Saturday. We saw it with Antonio Pierce. I go back, Raheem, to Dan Campbell in 15 with the Dolphins. Came in, they're running the Oklahoma drill. They won 2 games in a row. And then the team kind of inevitably ended up where they looked like they were going to be at the start of the year, mediocre and underwhelming. How do you gut feel foresee this change happening? Is this something that you think down the road can make a world of difference for the Jets? Is this not going to be a big deal? Or at least in the short term, is this something that can help them? What do you make of this over the next few weeks?
I think if Aaron Rodgers doesn't want Robert Saleh there and Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh are beefing, then this is a good thing at the end of the day, because the success of this team, they're going to go as Aaron Rodgers goes. So you kind of have to expect that they're going to get some improvement. So that's how I would approach it, but I need to see it to believe it.
JJ, I feel the exact same way. The working theory, I'm eager to hear your take on this. I'm sure everybody in New York has heard some of this rumor, is that Woody Johnson was embarrassed. He was embarrassed by the way his team performed in London. And, you know, he's the former ambassador to London, to the UK under President Trump. So he arrived like the royalty that he believes himself to be. And then the Vikings pulled their pants down a little bit. Now, again, let me reiterate, the Jets defense was bad that game. They gave Sam Darnold a beating. I think Sam Darnold was hurt the whole second half. I thought the pass defense was outstanding that whole game. The problem for the Jets was not on the defensive side, but the working theory I heard, JJ, was that Woody Johnson came back very upset with that outcome for the Jets, and that's the reason that Saleh had to go. Is you hearing that up there in New York?
Oh, 1,000%.
All right.
We know Woody Johnson has a reputation for being an irrational owner, and you nailed it, House. He was the ambassador to the UK. That's a homecoming for him, and he might have been down on things to begin with, and maybe as he's sipping his English tea and watching the first quarter and a half of the game, and his team falls behind 17-0, that set him off. I think that played a little bit of a role. I also think Saleh lost the locker room. And Quincy Williams had a quote with my pal Janae Coakley, who I work with over at SNY. And Quincy Williams is as stand-up a guy as you're going to find. And he started riffing off of guys not being held accountable and how this quote-unquote blank needs to change. Very blunt words. Then you throw in the whole cadence thing that was talked about last week in the Denver game between Saleh and Rodgers. There was a disconnect there. I love Woody Johnson saying he talked to Aaron Rodgers about this, and you know he talked to him the day before the firing. But we didn't mention the coach's status. No. We just talked about the amount of yards he threw. Yeah, okay. Good luck if you believe that one. But the bottom line is, to your point, I think Rodgers wanted him out. I think he was losing the locker room. But what kind of stability can you get from now a defensive coordinator who's got to go and become the head coach? You know, normally, Raheem, with these interims, I'd rather it be a special teams guy. I'd rather it be a tight ends coach, because now your defensive coordinator has got to be calling a defense. But, oh, by the way, you got to be in meetings for the offense. You got to be around the whole totality of the team. That could be problematic. So I think short-term, Raheem, it helps. Long-term, I have no idea what to expect. That's my takeaway.
Well, how can it help? How can it help? Are they going to play better offense on Monday night against the Bills? If you answer that question, that's the only thing that I care about. I'm not worried about the Jets defense. The Jets defense is doing what it's supposed to be doing. They could certainly, improve against the run a little bit, and we'll see, them against the Bills. The Bills will be a decent challenge with that, but I need to see Aaron Rodgers play a good game against a good team. And then we can start having a conversation about whether or not the change has made any impact.
The only game Rodgers has looked like the Aaron Rodgers of old was week 3 against the crummy Patriots. That's the only time. Even the Titan game, he wasn't any good. So that's a problem. And Hackett's still there. And Hackett's going to be there. Maybe he loses the play calling, but he's still going to be there because he's Rodgers' pal. Okay.